Thank you all for joining us for our SICSS-Howard Mathematica Funded Alumni Research in Progress Roundtable. During these Real Talk Roundtables, our hosting organizations, Howard, Mathematica, and SICSS, discuss the experiences of people of color within their institutions or offer tips and tricks for success. In the case of our SICSS panel today, teams who receive SICSS-Howard Mathematica Excellence in Computational Social Science Research Awards will be presenting their research projects in progress. They are Ph.D. students, early career faculty, and postdocs who attended SICSS-Howard Mathematica site and were successful in getting funding. They are currently where you want to be. I would recommend you learn about their projects, listen to their trajectory, and ask them questions so you can create a project that gets you funding this year from us and also throughout your career. Participants at the SICSS-Howard Mathematica site will have a chance to ask questions about their projects and get to know them during the second day of Praxis to Power. For now, I encourage you to settle in, listen, and learn.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeremy Prim. I'm a current Ph.D. candidate in the Department of Sociology at University of California, Davis. Our project's title is Weighing the Options, Examining School Choice, Reactions to Test Score, and Discipline Disparities Among Black Parents. I'll pass it off to my other colleagues to introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Todd Hall. I am a rising fourth-year PhD student in education policy at the University of Virginia. And I was a SICSS-Howard Mathematica cohort of 2021. And SICSS has been a great experience for me in getting to work with these awesome colleagues here, as well as understanding digital trace data, learning about web scraping, and integrating some computational methods into what will soon, eventually, prayerfully, hopefully, be my dissertation. And I'll pass it to Janeria.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Janeria Easley, and I'm an assistant professor in African American Studies at Emory University. I was also part of the SICSS cohort of 2021 with Todd and Jeremy. Learned a lot of the same things. I was excited to learn a lot of the same things that Todd mentioned, including web scraping. Well, in terms of what has helped me with this project has been all that I've learned about survey design, which I think was something that was very intimidating for me before coming to SICSS, but through their project and through working with Todd and Jeremy, I've learned a lot and that I will use in this project and take on to future work as well.
Great. Next slide.
All right. Okay.
So the project aims, our project was really specifically to evaluate what information Black parents deem most important in school selection and how disparities and outcomes for Black students shape their desires for schools. Next slide. The so what, and really thinking about the significance of this project, Dr. Cooper counters a generic universal theory of school choice with one of position choice, which is grounded in Black feminist thought. It is essential to know more about the specific considerations of Black parents and also to explore variations within geography, so where those parents are located, gender, and then also class, and specifically looking at educational attainment. Currently, there's very few studies that have a sizable number of fathers included in different surveys, and we were really looking to explore trends among Black fathers in addition to Black mothers. Next slide. Previous literature has really expanded. Survey experiments and online search data find white parents less willing to enroll in majority Black schools, and we have less evidence on other parents from other demographic backgrounds. Specifically, Black parents seek to shield their children from racism, particularly at majority white schools, while also seeking higher performing or more competitive schools. But studies often refer to racial composition as a loose proxy for conditions that raise fears about racial bias, but racial disparities might be a better proxy. Some current work that's been done by Dr. Chantel Haley, where she specifically looked at 834 New York City parents and students, found that Black parents did not report any difference in willingness to enroll between the predominantly Black, white, or mixed schools. So there's, as you can see, there's a lot more work that can be done in regards to Black parents and their perceptions regarding their students' schools. Next slide. So our guiding research questions are as follows. So our first question looks at, do test score gaps and suspension gaps between Black students and their peers reduce Black parents' desire to enroll in a school? Second, are there differences in the consideration that Black parents give to these factors by gender, geography, and education? And then lastly, do parents click to view suspension rates? And specifically, how much time do they spend looking at school data? Our hypothesis, are really driven by that we do believe that parents are going to acknowledge there is different test score gaps and suspension gaps between Black students and between Black students at a given school. We do believe, another hypothesis that we do believe that Black parents do really lock into the certain factors that are regarding gender, geography, and education. Next slide. And I'll pass it now to my colleague, Todd.
Thank you, Jeremy. So as Jeremy mentioned, we'll be conducting a survey and doing a survey experiment where we have developed and piloted a survey that is intended to measure parents' desire to enroll in a hypothetical school. So I'll share more about what those school profiles look like momentarily. For now, we are using Qualtrics, and we've basically developed a construct to measure like how much a parent wants to enroll in this particular school based on the profile that we share. And we are also going to be using Sentiment, which is a survey firm, to collect a panel of Black parents specifically. So we'll have 1,100 Black parents taking our survey. Built into the Qualtrics form is some digital trace data collection. So we'll be looking at how much time each parent spends on viewing the profile that we present, as well as whether they choose to click to view information about suspensions. These, next slide, please. So these profiles and surveys will be displayed in a 2x2 randomized experiment. So we will have two different experimental conditions. One is whether we show a test score gap between Black students and the overall test score proficiency levels at the school, at the hypothetical school in our profile. And one dimension is whether we show a suspension gap in the percentage of students that were suspended by race. So that leads to 4 different categories that a particular survey taker might encounter. One condition is where there are no gaps. One condition is where there are test score proficiency gaps, but not suspension gaps. And then we have one where there are suspension gaps, but not test score gaps. And then there is one where there is both a gap in test score proficiency rates between Black students and their peers, as well as in suspension rates. And we believe that showing these gaps will allow us to tease out what information is most salient to Black parents, and whether this information may be discouraging or may limit their desire to enroll in a particular school. So once they enter our survey, they'll be randomized into seeing one of these types of scenarios. Next slide, please. We recognize that many states have existing school profile websites. This is an example from the Virginia Department of Education school quality profiles. So here they are showing general school information about the staff, as well as the enrollment and the demographics. As Jeremy alluded to, there have been several studies looking at the demographic composition, but oftentimes those studies aren't focused specifically on Black parents, and they may not go deeper than showing the composition. We note that the profile here has both accreditation and then test score levels, and they also unpack achievement gaps, both by race and by student with disabilities and English language learners. So our profile is on the next slide, please. So our profile takes a similar format, and here we are showing the hypothetical school. This is in the condition where there is both a test score gap and a suspension gap. There's general information about the school and the staff, and then the usual enrollment information. And then we have academic achievement levels based on being on grade level for English and math. So here we see that for all students, it was about 75% at grade level, but for Black students, it was lower. And then if parents who are taking our survey select to click, they can view suspension rates, which here we also see a disparity. And I know that this is one of our 4 experimental conditions. There'll be some conditions that don't have gaps, and we will be able to tease out the effects of that information. Next slide, please. And I will pass it to Janeria.
Yes, so to give you a sense of where we are with the project, so we've already developed the survey and done a factor analysis, and we've also received IRB approval. We have tested the survey through a variety of means, including testing it through a survey design course where we ran about 30 different practice surveys. We've also done multiple rounds of cognitive interviews, which have been really helpful in terms of troubleshooting the survey and getting it prepared. We've also already had initial contact with Sentiment, who is our survey design panel group. And so we got an initial quote from them, and we are ready to proceed. We also did a policy lab presentation at UVA Ed Policy Works, and then an initial draft of a pre-registration plan at Open Science Framework. So our next steps are to work with Sentiment to do a soft launch with 30 participants, so that we can kind of pause the survey there, get a sense of what's working and what's not, and do a quality check of the data, make any necessary revisions. Then we'll run the full survey. While that's going on, we're going to begin documenting our methodology for a possible methods paper, and also beginning an open source working paper that we'll upload to the GitHub repository. So in terms of how you all can help us, we would love if you would take 10 minutes to test our survey. Even if you're not a Black parent, it's still helpful. You won't be included in the study, but you'll help us stress test it, and you can leave any useful feedback in the comment section of the survey. So I'm just going to pause here for a couple of seconds so that you can get the URL for the survey, but that will be really helpful for us, and it shouldn't take longer than 10 minutes. Okay. And then we also wanted to take some time to stop and give our thank yous to Howard University and Mathematica for both from the initial workshop, but also for the subsequent funding that we've received. This wouldn't be possible without all that support. We really want to thank the SICSS-Howard Mathematica team times 1,000. Again, all the help has been really useful from 2021 until now. We want to thank our cohort for all the really useful feedback when we were participating in the workshop. And also Linda Millinari and Emma Pendle-Robinson, both from Mathematica. They were our TAs when we were trying to get this started and helped us troubleshoot and get this off the ground, and also helped us learn some of the other useful skills that the workshop put forward. We also have to thank Dr. Chantal Haley, who's a Howard alum, who she's given us a lot of really useful feedback on our survey design and talk to us about, her process. So that's been really useful. We also have to thank our panel of cognitive interviewees who have given us their time and given us really useful feedback. And then also from the University of Virginia, the Ed Policy Works Policy Lab. And I also just wanted to put up our contact information. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you all for watching. For more information on SICSS-Howard Mathematica, visit our website, follow us on social media, and join our email list.